Understand that you direct and produce both puppet-based plays and films, and I just wanted to ask you whether you thought, I mean, this may be a silly question, but do you think that there are things that you can achieve with one medium that you can't achieve with the other?
Well, I love puppetry because it's quite visual, but it's also a story, and it's also, the budget is low enough that, a regular person can put it together without the support of a giant, filmmaking company or something like that. That, a normal individual, they can get together enough funding to actually put this thing together. Like, you don't have to have a massive budget. And so I think it's like the voice of the people, basically. It's something that anybody can, anybody who has something to say, they can say it through puppetry without the same kind of barriers that we normally have. And I think also it is wonderful living in Britain because there is such a tradition of theater here as a way for people to, have a conversation about various issues. It's been really wonderful. I don't think the same measure of change could have come out of doing the show in America, for instance. I don't think it would have nearly as much impact, although it would have been dangerous for me actually to do it in America. But, if, just theoretically speaking, if I had done it there, I don't think it would have as much impact in terms of people actually coming together and organizing and changing laws, which is what happened in the UK. In America, there's less of a tradition of theater and more of a tradition of watching the television in your own living room, which isn't so much associated with activism. However,
that's interesting. London, I never thought of that.
Yes. In London, though, people do. They want to talk about stuff. So here's theater. Here's something to talk about. But it's wonderful that there's also, comparing America to Britain. In America, there's so much less of an infrastructure in terms of as like a social safety net. So everybody's kind of on their own. People don't realize, because it's an isolated, the geography creates isolation. So people don't realize a lot of the things that Europeans realize in terms of the ways that people can work together to help each other instead of, everybody's just on their own then, I guess. And because there's a history of more of a social safety net here, what happened when I brought Hooray for Hollywood to the theaters, when I performed it in theaters and, had a post-show discussion afterwards, then people, started to talk about this as first of all, being aware of the issue, then also being aware of the, how harmful it is, how devastating it is for children who have to suffer these things. And, what are the after effects? And also that the laws weren't effective enough at protecting the children, and they weren't being necessarily enforced well either. So at one point I got together an audience at a big charity. In the audience were most of the leading charities for child protection and people trying to protect trafficked people, like charities trying to protect trafficked people, along with the Home Office and the London City Hall. So I had this amazing audience where I was talking, showed them Hooray for Hollywood, talked with them about my own experience, and then we had a panel discussion talking about the different legal issues. And it was an amazing discussion, and it helped to influence a big set of laws that were set into place to protect trafficked people. Some of the things that were discussed in that setting, and with researchers afterwards, they they put into law. So these little puppets, they're just little puppets. They're made out of, these particular ones are particularly flimsy because I just made them in a weekend, while I was in university. They're just flimsy little things, but they helped to reach people's hearts. They helped inspire productive conversations about change. And then they helped to inspire real change in the world through the change in laws and more enforcement in terms of existing laws. So I feel very, very proud of those little puppets.